All right, so we're going to give you a bit of a half-assed review of 30 Coins season 1 and 2 here. The reason it's going to be half-assed and the reason you probably should go elsewhere for this if you are interested in this show is because this took us a long time to watch.
It did. It took us a really long time to watch.
And I had already seen season 1 and I wanted to watch season 2. So I brought Kaylee in. And whenever I bring Kaylee in, and it's not her fault, it's just our time
Yeah.
together, and we have so many other commitments
Yeah.
to the channel in addition to life. It just takes us much longer, right? If I watch a show on my own, I'll watch it in a few days. If I watch it with Kaylee, sometimes it can take months. This one took like 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's only less than 20 episodes. I mean,
It's a
it's
pretty
it's a
short
very short show, so
show.
it should not have taken this long. It is what it is. So nothing's really that fresh. In fact,
Yeah.
we watched up until about halfway through season 2. Then we did a hiatus
Yeah.
for maybe 4 or 5 months
Yeah.
before then just jumping right back in with the last 3 episodes
Yep.
and watching them
Yeah.
and just being like, we'll remember.
It's
I
actually
mostly remembered.
I did too, but
But did I?
that's kind of crazy that it's only 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Like, because it feels like it's 3. Maybe that's just because of how long we took to finish
Yes.
it. But I also feel like from where we go from season 1 to season 2 is like a very, very drastic leap of things, in my opinion.
So, this is a Spanish horror show on HBO, and it is about this organization, this like cult basically, that is trying to track down the 30 pieces of silver that Judas was paid to betray Jesus. And each piece makes you powerful, but all 30 together can make you a god.
Yeah.
So the pieces have been purposely scattered. This cult has gotten together a bunch of the pieces, and the final pieces remain. We then meet our cast of characters here, our mainstay characters, which is Paco, the town's mayor. It's a very small, close knit community of people. His wife Mershe, who is the main like character demon in Dagon, which is how I know her. So it was very cool to see her again.
Yeah, it was cool to see her again.
Then we have like his romantic interest. Don't hate on the guy yet. His wife is awful. Her name is Elena.
Yeah.
And then we have the priest, who is like the buffest, most badass priest you'll ever see in a show. And this is Vigara, who has this big old beard and a shaved head. And every other scene, he's just boxing with his shirt off, just beating the shit out of things. I will say this. Much. I love the first season.
Yeah.
I was very excited to show it to Kaylee again, because I just think it's such a wild show. It has all of these ridiculously over the top, crazy ass like monsters and creatures.
Yes.
There's this one where like a baby is born.
Oh my god, that one was crazy. Yeah, I think the first season is really cool, and I really enjoyed all of the monster, like, demon creature designs. I thought all that stuff was super cool, and pretty gory too at times as well, which was awesome. Some of the monsters, like, it kind of reminded me a little bit of stuff that you would see from like Dark Souls or Bloodborne or something, like those kinds of creatures. I was really into it, but then season 2 is very different.
It takes a
big turn
for sure. It's a shame. I don't hate season 2, but it just, I commend season 2 for taking massive swings.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you take massive swings, you can have massive misses, and you can strike out a lot. And I think that unfortunately that does happen here. And I thought that we were going to have kind of a definitive ending because it did get canceled after season 2, and I'd hoped they would wrap it up. But holy shit, do they not even remotely wrap it up? Do
Yeah.
they leave it off on a massive
Oh,
cliffhanger
massive.
for
Just
another season?
yes.
And Alex de la Iglesias, who is the creator of this show, is pretty adamant on finding someone to finish the show. He has a third season he wants to do, and it's like the completion of the story. And I guess he's not giving up. He's like he's gonna shop it around. He really wants to get it made.
Mm.
So he has a pretty big name. So I feel like he can get it done. So maybe not be on HBO, but I do have a feeling we probably will see a final season of this eventually.
I do too at some point. I mean, I'm sure we'll watch it just
Oh, I
because,
will.
yeah, I don't want to. I do want to know what happens. But it just, yeah, it's such a different story than what I was expecting, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just, I don't know. I think that it kind of gets the, we watch the X Files and we sort of talk about how we don't tend to like the like overarching like government story thing that's going on,
Mm,
and that's kind of what it felt like with this, where I like wasn't as interested in the political stuff, I guess,
yeah.
like that drama, versus like maybe the more like the monsters and like more of that type of thing. I think that's just what ended up happening for me.
You know, Paul Giamatti is an actor that I quite like. I've seen him in tons of things over the years, and I feel like he really hams it up here
Hmm.
as our main villain of season 2. And I feel like the plot just becomes so convoluted in season 2. There's so much going on that you kind of just get lost in
I
it all.
agree. I agree.
I mean, you've got people in hell,
Yeah.
you've got these like demon babies being born, you've got this whole, like cabal of
Yeah.
people that are trying to bring these coins together, and they're all double crossing one another, and eventually it ends up with like UFOs,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
we go so all over the place. You're
Yeah.
like, by the time you get to the end of season 2, and you know, spoilers ish. I'm not getting crazy into spoilers here, but when they like started introducing like UFOs and God's eye and like these
Yeah.
really wild things, where I was telling Kaylee, like I was talking about the scene. I was
Yeah.
just explaining the scene as it was happening, one of the last scenes of the episode. And it was like just saying these words
I
all
know.
together feels like word salad.
It
It
sounds
feels like
crazy.
it feels so insane
Yeah.
that I'm like, this can't be real.
Yeah, I think what you said too about it feeling all over the place, because it's like, the first season feels a lot more contained, where we're sort of with like our three main people and we get like a couple other characters and stuff. And I think that this second season just went too big too fast, because now we have like an entire town and like the survivors of this town that are going around doing this investigation with this other girl, and then we have the police officer, and then we have like, what's going on with Paco and Elena, and like all of this, and then the other people, and it's just a lot of different groups, I think. So maybe if there had been like another like a midway season that led up to that, it would have flowed a little bit better.
Yeah. We also have, I agree. We also have like, I don't, definitely of recent memory, like the best looking romantic duo
Oh
that
yeah.
I've seen in a show in a
Yeah,
while.
Paco
Like
and
Paco is
Elena
so
and Elena. I
stupid
mean,
handsome,
yeah.
and Elena is so stupid
Yeah,
gorgeous.
they just were like, yeah. Just kind of
They're just so good to look at.
impossibly good looking people.
Yes.
And you're just like, I want you to be together so bad. Why aren't you together? And
Yeah.
yeah.
And the show can be insanely graphic, both
Yes.
with its sexuality, its nudity,
Yeah.
which A+ on that. I was not, when you first start shows like this, you're like, there's no way I'm ever seeing Elena naked. Oh my God, was I wrong? You see every single part of her. Um, but yeah, like the gore, the monsters are
Yes.
so insane, and I feel like the second season was really lacking that. That was
Totally.
one thing that I
Totally.
love about season one is that like every other episode or every episode has this new crazy, like as you almost said, that's actually a good comparison. It's like a video game
Yes. Yeah.
monster
Yeah.
that comes in. And I was loving it because it was so over the top and so crazy and not what I expected at all when I started it.
Yeah.
And but with season two, we're so
It
like
gets
Paul Giamatti's American, freaking Jeff Bezos
yeah.
knockoff character is just not as interesting. I don't really
It's like you
care.
go from like these demons of hell, and then it becomes this guy that's actually more threatening than like the devil or hell or anything.
We do
And
get
it
to spend some
feels
time in hell though, and that shit's
that
gnarly.
shit is, yeah, that's great. That shit is really great. But I was gonna say something.
About Paul Giamatti and
Uh it was something about the villain, I think.
mm,
Dang, I don't remember now.
oh,
Sorry.
my
Maybe
fault.
it'll come back.
I was trying to have interject and
Oh
I
no, it's
talked
okay. No, I it
too
just
quick.
it went out my brain.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that his it is kind of funny to see like an American like villainized like that. Like because yeah, Jeff Bezos and like those kinds of ultra rich people are obviously very villainous in their own way. But I think what I was gonna say was instead of all the monster of the week stuff, like this is what I was saying with the like, it's not really political, but it's like the like 3D chess playing or 4D chess stuff, right? Where
Mm,
they're like trying to control the population and the planet, and like that stuff got very boring to me. I
yeah,
like did not care. I
agreed.
was like, okay,
Yeah,
like that's
yeah.
any different than what really happens in the world. But it was weird because it felt like it was supposed to be some like like look how scary and new this is, but it's like I don't know, it already goes on kind of.
It could be just a social commentary.
Yeah, that's possible.
I don't know. Yeah, but I agree with you. It was just redundant,
Yeah.
and it got boring, and I just didn't like where our characters were going. We spent a lot of time in like a windmill with other characters, and that just kind of felt repetitious. And I don't know. It just the second season just didn't really work.
Yeah.
And that's a huge shame because I was really looking forward to season two after season one. I thought we could make it bigger and better and more exciting and more grand. And then when they canceled it, I was going to be bummed. But if it never happens, I'm not going to be super pissed or anything. But I will watch it just because I want to see the conclusion of this story. But I do really love Vagara, Paco, and Elena. I am a big fan of all three of those characters.
Yeah.
So if they can kind of pull their shit together and get it back to like what season one was,
Hmm.
then I'm all in.
Yeah. I mean we'll be watching it no matter what, but yeah, if it can kind of return to its roots a little bit, I think it could have a really solid conclusion despite this like weird middle season.
I feel like I'm not a religious person at all, and I just when the opening credits of this show come on, it always feels it's like Passion of the Christ,
Yeah.
freaking hardcore
Yeah.
shit. That I'm like, man, I wonder how many people find this offensive.
I don't know. Because I thought Passion of the Christ was like one of those like
It's super graphic
it's
and
but yeah, like kind of beloved by
yes,
Christians because it's like
well,
or not or
Catholics
Catholics or whatever. Is it Catholics that are super into it?
or maybe both.
You would think that both would be into it because I thought it was supposed to show like look at the suffering that Jesus did for you,
Yeah,
right? Because that's like the whole
I
thing.
only said Catholics because Mel Gibson. It's like a Roman Catholic.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I wouldn't think people would be. I think people would get offended by this. Like, I think if you like, some Christians might get offended by the show in general because of what happens in season two
Yeah.
specifically. Like, I think that there's some what would be considered blasphemous concepts, for sure. But I think the opening is just kind of like, there's Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend the shit out of season one
Yeah.
for sure. And if you loved it and you're like, I don't care, I want to see more, then continue with it. But definitely don't skip out on season one. I
Yeah.
think, even if you don't get all your questions answered and you're like, I don't really want to see this fall apart for season two, I still think season one is wild enough and big enough and cool enough and Elena is hot enough that it's worth your time.
Yeah.
And Paco's hot enough too. So check it out. It's
Yeah.
on HBO. As I said, half-ass review. I don't even remember half the details, but I just wanted to praise season one and point out the flaws of season two.
Yeah.
All right. Let us know if you've seen it, and we'll see you in the comments.
Bye.
Adios.